That's the one I keep thinking about. So you sit up straight and tall. Remember the empty space in you is actually quite forgiving, right? It's been here the whole time. Your mind like puts a whole bunch of stamps on it and all this stuff and parts of you you're afraid of now, all this stuff. Except I'm grounding it right now. I mean, I got both my elbows down. I've got my hand, I'm touching. I'm not just closing up. I'm starting to let there be structure around the parts of me I don't see. So when I say to you, like, prana rewards structure, right? I just wrote a whole bunch of stuff on prana, not a whole bunch, but like 2 pages of really important stuff for what I'm writing. And it's all over my mind right now, right? But like the prana rewards structure. So one of the things I compared it to in this thing I was writing was that, prana follows consciousness more than it follows breath, whatever. That's one line. It's a really important line for my yoga practice. But the thing is, people want to think that consciousness then might be able to control, right? Stuff, prana. Like if I just say enough mantras, I'll get what I want. Like we try to make things causal way too fast at this level, right? But the relationship between consciousness and prana, there's a reason why the yogis are constantly talking about trying to find the pure observer, right? And try to get so like something is actually felt before it's judged, right? But the idea that maybe prana is more like the consciousness can kind of dig a hole and prana will fill it in, right? If you put your mind somewhere, and not just your mind, your actually mind and body, your consciousness in a place, and open yourself to receiving. Like, for example, one of my things I want to work on is even making better space between my femur bones and my lower abdomen. Okay, that if I can get space there, I know my back's going to feel better and my shoulders are going to feel better. I physically can't do it when I'm sitting and moving my arms, but I want to keep putting my consciousness there with diligent practice, and then start to let my awareness, the prana, start to create a sense of lift in there, right? Because prana will fill in where your full attention goes, right? And I think it's so conscious kind of like opens a hole in the vortex, right? Prana will fill it in because prana gives to anything so maybe prana fills in the hole the way the earth can fill in a well. It'll come. So when you sit up straight and tall, and I say prana rewards structure. So feel each sitting bone and feel the heel on each foot, and feel each side. Try to open to sensation that's kind of empty on each side of your chest. And try to keep all of those points, your heels, your sitting bones, and here, keep them aligned in sensation. As you do this, soften the inside of your mouth. So if you've got your heels, your sitting bones, each side of your breastbones, then can you actually create a reference point on each side of your head, between your shoulders and your ears? And then let awareness of all those points align your posture. Don't try to align your posture, follow it. Empty space, graceful empty space, shows you alignment. It will align your pose if you're listening. Prana is received by consciousness. It doesn't control it. It creates the points, the form, and prana comes and fills it in. Because the universe is a giver. It's a giver. It's not a taker. stunning. Re-soften the inside of your mouth, lips together, teeth slightly apart. Little tiny extra lift in the center of your sternum and change everything. Receive everything. Notice that's likely going to make you want to initiate an inhale. Here comes the universe. Honor it, and then exhale and extend your spine slightly. Prepare to be of service. Whether it's movement, I've got an infinite amount of work to do with non-stealing because I've been taking. I've not been realizing. Not every moment. That's okay. I forgive myself. This is intense. It's a giving space here. Good. And then drop your chest a little bit. And can you feel the room that you left when you drop your chest? And even when my chest is dropped, this space is still here. Lift your chest back up. Remember, prana will reward structure. The prana is still here, even if I drop. It's whether I can figure out how to become a conduit. And if I do, guess what the promise is between you and the universe? It'll fill in the hole. So I'm going back and forth, lifting and dropping my chest. I hope you are too. So this is just like a center of the chest, cat, cow. Now notice right away, your mind wants to start using your low back. Mine's already doing it too, right? Oh, and that's not wrong. Except if I use my low back too much, am I utilizing the potential of my upper thoracic to come forward? Probably not. I'm going to drop my chest and let the prana be somehow out here. When my chest is dropped, it kind of hovers out here. And it's not used, the energy's here, or whatever that is, but it's not coming through me, right? So when I do this and I open up, I want to feel the transformation of the prana that's in the room. I'm becoming more of the riverbanks. When I drop my chest and roll my shoulders forward, I'm not the riverbanks as well. It's out here, right? When you see someone, especially with CP, I learned this, someone that's really misaligned, you can feel that they're out of phase around their body in different places because of their misalignment in their structure. So a lot of what we would do with adjustments is we would like move the structure so they could become riverbanks. What was wild, if you were with us when we were in person, when someone started to get the better structure and the riverbank started to flow through their body, everyone in the room would feel it, especially the people closer. There's something here, right? Again, lift your chest. So now, in order to get the upper thoracic to move forward, the instruction that helped me was let the space, the upper thoracic between your shoulder blades, basically, let it migrate forward. Don't push it forward. Because I want to somehow if I just lift it from my low back and I push it forward, I miss some of the potential. Doesn't mean the lumbar spine coming forward is, lifting your chest is wrong. It means you don't want it to cover up. because your mind's going to be more attracted to the flexibility around your diaphragm and that part of your back. It doesn't quite know how to have the space behind your heart. And so you have to like try to pause in the emptiness and let there be a hand gently behind your sternum. So the back body doesn't become part of the effort of lifting your chest. It's part of the flow of it. So this is part of why often I teach you exhaling from the back ribs, because I want you to receive from back to front, right, as part of the lift. So does anyone have that sense? Once you start to really open to what's behind you, do you feel your chest lift a little bit? Prana follows consciousness more than it follows breath. I can't open my back body with my mind, by the way. It's not an object. I have to receive what's behind me. Whoops, did that have something to do with the past? Whoops. I don't have to navigate all what's behind me. I have to receive it. So I'm breathing. I'm open in the back. I'm trying to be more aware of the space between my shoulders because we're going to back bend, right? And some of you, I don't want you to move your neck so much. And I hope you're doing something right now. Hope you're taking in all the instructions and practicing them. There's a whole invisible story of a yoga practice. Good. And then release. I better get some lighter energy. So let's move around a little bit, whatever you know to move, like to make the space not have so much serious attention, right? Because the back bend, needs to go and be a little bit joyful, like kind of happy. So the space needs to be light too. So jiggle around, do whatever you need to do. Maybe it's feel your muscles. A lot of people get a lot of mileage out of this because when you take your arm over your head, it's not just your arm. This part of your rib cage opens, which is your diaphragm, which is the intersection between your physiological body and your physical body, right? Bikasangar. So when you do this, what's, in my opinion, what's even more important is what it's doing to your rib cage, right? It's opening your rib cage, right? And even if you can't take your arm over your head, then you think about opening your rib cage, like take the shoulder back, do all of these things that get, so there's a line that I think I'm going to try to write about, but it's changed my whole yoga practice. I work on like 5 lines for Bikasangar, and that's my entire yoga practice. One of them is the intersection of the physical body and the physiological body, or the subtle bodies at the diaphragm. It's like, what the hell, really? The dude knows more than me, so I'm going to pay attention. So now that I've got more awareness here, Bikasangar, I'm really confident to say that guy knew a lot more about asana than I will ever know, no matter what. So when he says things, he's such an amazing practitioner, was such an amazing practitioner, I'm going to probably believe him, right? I'm going to go, yeah, I think I'm going to try to figure out, I'm going to try to live into that insight that something really important is happening right here, right? Then I was flashed forward years and years, I'm with Richard Freeman. And he says to me, don't you know that, like, so sometimes yoga is thought to be in mythology, in Indian mythology, apparently, is thought to be a serpent, but it's a serpent with 1,000 heads. And Richard Freeman leans into me and goes, don't you know that the 1,000 heads all come out of T12? It's like, what? Dude, I don't even know what that means, except I do know what it means. And T12 has got an interesting place near the diaphragm, right? It's got some interesting stuff here. Like the yogis have identified the mid-spine as one of the really important places, right? And unfortunately, some of us are so flexible there, we've missed it. We've missed how deep it is, right? All right, so I'm lifting back up. So now when I'm lifting up, I'm wanting my sitting bones to come up. I'm wanting my chest to come up, but I'm wanting to make sure where I've just been touching my diaphragm, right, is actually part of the lift. Not trying to do the lifting, but I'm not just moving the bottom and the top. I'm making sure I get T12, the diaphragm, without activating the diaphragm. I want the diaphragm to receive, right? To receive, not to lead. And I can tell you, paralyzed from the chest down, I overuse my diaphragm, right? When you can't move very well, you overuse your diaphragm, and that's inevitable, right? It's okay. You're not a bad person if you overuse your diaphragm. Take your legs wide. Transformation meets you anywhere. It's like the giving tree. So I'm going back and forth, right? So now I've done this before. My legs are wide. I'm leaning forward and I'm pushing to try to get my knees a little farther apart. And I'm lifting my chest. But I want to find my sitting bones, find the midpoint of my spine, basically, and my chest as I come forward and up. So I want to have my whole torso. One of the things that's really funny to watch, quote, traditional students, who have like, quote, more traditional bodies, is when they finally realize in their standing poses that they have a torso. It's amazing. So many traditional practitioners don't know they have a torso. They do their poses, they can put their legs back together. They can put their legs and arms in different positions, but they don't realize that all of it has to go through T12 and through the diaphragm. And when they realize that their torso is dynamic, not just something to squeeze, right? It's a dynamic part of the spine. Then all of a sudden their standing poses get way more effective for the rest of their practice. But it takes them a long time. So I'm trying to go back and forth and use rhythm, but trying to have both the base of my spine, my chest, but the space in between to be part of the pose, right? So I'm rocking back and forth, doing a kind of a version of a cat-cow, but it's way more than a cat-cow because I want the movement to be dynamic, right? But I'm making sure I have the 3 different points in my spine, right? And then if you've done that a few times, sit. Like for me, while I was talking, I'm a little bit out of breath from doing that, right? But can you feel the hum in your legs? Does anyone kind of feel the hum in the whole body? Diaphragm's the intersection. I'm in a pranayama class. Gita Iyengar's teaching it. And we're in lying down pranayama. And she says, you're pranayama, you're on your back, your chest is lifted. You're kind of a Jadar Bandha, but you're on your back, you're horizontal. And she said, your diaphragm, your bottom floating rib is the gatekeeper. If you can soften your bottom floating rib, your breath pervades the whole body better. It's true. I've been trying that ever since. That was 2002. That there's something, so take some time to know where your bottom floating rib is. You're going to want to keep that supple and open. So now we're going to get more complicated here. Okay. Now all this thing I was doing with more of a cat-cow, I want you to do it while keeping your floating rib supple. right? And open. What does it mean to be open? I don't freaking know. Just do it. Like open it like a slotted window shade, right? Open it like let the grill open, right? Whatever that even means, while you're moving back and forth, right? So I'm knowing that. And then, by the way, it's not just the diaphragm that needs to open, but so does this right here, right? Open that grill as you're moving. Oh my God, you mean to do that, you have to horizontally move the space between your shoulder blades? Anyone been hearing that instruction from me for years and years? Yeah, yeah, it's all here. And we're on the hunt for the legs, right? We're on the hunt for both legs and then release. Now, take your legs wide, your knees wide again, feet a little bit of wide you can, whatever it is. Open up all the side slots up and down your side body. Broaden the space between your shoulder blades. Touch each knee. Create reference for the bandha to travel through you, right up through the midline. Good. And then forward and up. I'm going back behind the balance point. I come forward, I ground. I'm keeping the side slots open on my spine, on my side body, as I vertebrae by vertebrae go throughout my whole spine. And then release. And then back again. When I do this with my legs wide a little bit, there seems to be more space for my spine. And then release. Now I'm going to bring my legs together again. Why? Because I want the midline, right? Right, so my legs are going together. I want to receive it. I'm gonna let my legs go back. So we're doing the equivalent of dropping and lifting your chest from the beginning of class. My legs are off. The prana is going, right? It's going like this off my legs and off the base of my spine. For a second, I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to notice the change in the flow of the river. Right? And then let the legs go out again. And now this time, I'm going to come forward on my sitting bones because I need to be in the front side of the balance point. Right? I'm going to bring my legs together and try to, as this river starts coming in, I'm going to try to follow it up my spine. Right? So I'm going from a dull point to this, and I want them all to be the same energy, right? So my legs are out now, right? I want this to come forward, this to lift, and I want it to be fluid, right? Try it again. So got to watch what you're doing, got to see if your torsos are actually doing it right here, right? So are you doing it with your whole spine? Are you lip servicing me with your scalings and neck? Right? Yeah, try to find your whole spine. So one of the ways to find your whole spine is to let the movement be more sensual, right? Let it be like a thing that you're going slow with. You're not trying to hold and grip and make your spine static. You're actually trying to, right? So now we're going to coordinate this back to a standing pose, right? So to like be in the river for a back bend, actually. All right, so the idea here again that I'm going to do this and I'm going to receive, right? Like there's a current that prana changes when my knees go together and I'm catching it up through my spine. Try it again, right? See if you can make it as fluid and complete as possible, right? Because in a second, when now come forward on your forearms, on your thighs, right? We're doing now more like a whole range of back bends. They're like up dog and cobra and stuff. But I want you to find all of your spine, open the slots on the side of the body, travel down the inner groin to the inner knee to the inner heel, and transform your pose by lifting your spine into a back bend. Watch the energy change. Don't just watch the effort. And then drop again. Different types of energy come through you when you're back bending, right? So I'm going to ground again. I'm going to let the prana out here just kind of go all over the place like it does every day, right? And you need to have the kind of just lazy, not lazy, but the flow of prana that's more just wherever it's going, right? You need that too. But now we're going to like, again, try to create structure enough so the prana starts coming through my spine more directly instead of dissipating in my ligaments, muscles, and tendons, right? So I'm going to ground here. So I'm going to go down. So I'm actually like being more aware of my hands right now, then my forearms. I'm going to connect down to my feet. However I do that, you can probably do it better and differently than I can. I'm forward. I'm wanting to go down and then start from the very base of the pelvic floor, but like even the bones, the sitting bones, I want to pull the energy up through my chest. Now, there is a certain point where horizontal extension is really going to help. So at a certain point, you want to broaden across your chest and open here, the hoods of the chest. Open the hoods of the chest in support of the lift. As you do that, if you don't have your legs, you're going to get a sore back if you do this too much. Right? And then release. If you're trying to win at the apex of the pose out here, like maximize the back bend, you're going to aggravate your back. You need to be a better yogi than that. Because when you back bend in a chair, you can aggravate your back. You have to really keep your base. So all this extra time, I'm forward, I'm down, I'm finding my legs, I'm broadening across my sacrum, I'm finding where my heels are. I'm going to draw the river banks into me. I'm going to let them take my back. I'm going to continue it up through the vertebrae. I'm going to start up, I'm going to add the horizontal, but I don't want to lose the fullness of my spine. Keep the side waist open like eyeballs on the side of your body, both sides. And then if you want to, lengthen the front of your neck to extend the chin up, but don't shorten the back side of your neck. Good, and then release. So one of the things, so like upward facing dog and kind of what are called small back bends, they tend to be more grounded, obviously, and but they're not quite as fun. Like they're kind of, You know, there's something like the home run shot, like Urgdanurasana and some other these bigger back bends are the ones where you really get to reach out into the future and the new year, right? Right. So you need the grounded strength of the earth to meet this whole thing, right? The thing is that people get all caught up, especially when they're doing this in a chair, about opening this part, but we got to make sure the river is coming up the legs, right? So we're going to back up. Well, I'm going to back up so you can see. I want to make sure you see that it matters where your legs are, right? Receive it. Because once I start back bending against my chair, I'm going to lose this as a sensation, a physical sensation. So I'm trying to imprint my memory right here of what it is for the river to the prana to have the forms of alignment between my hips and my femur bones and my knees, right? That alignment and what I receive this way. Because when I go to back bend, I'm going to have to let it go, but I got to keep this midline clarity, right? The midline clarity has to stay. All right. So I'm imprinting my memory, learning the basic movement, because I'm not going to be able to do it physically as well here. When I go up and over my chair, I'm going to lose this river somewhat, but I want to use my memory to keep it. Okay, so now, you know, this other one grows out of the ground. This one, find the river, keep it, keep your hands on your legs if you can. But now my mind's already getting excited about going up and over the back of the chair. So I have to refine my legs, right? And then I'm going to draw in this river before I start lifting up. So I'm going to draw it in right there. Remember, prana follows consciousness more than it follows breath. And then I'm going to pivot right here. The balance on my sitting bones is going to change right here. I'm going to keep it connected and start to go back and then up and over my chair, not through my chair seat. And then release. That's the outside of it. Now we're going to do it a couple times, right? And I'm moving around. So I have a tendency, my will starts getting too intense. So I'm introducing a rocking rhythm into my practice here. So I don't get too gritty and too focused, right? Legs here. Gonna start drawing back. Gonna start to open, lengthen up and over the back of my chair. Broadening across the chest and letting this go skyward. Good, and then release. So in Urdhvanurasana or in Viparita Dandasana, right? Your arms go up too, but I can't do that in a chair and not feel like I'm going to tip over. But I am going to get this imprint. So I'm going to do it on both sides. I'm going to rock back and forth, right? So we're kind of doing not Urdhvanurasana anymore, but I want you to get that this can go up, that the fall can be the up and over the chair. As part of you goes skyward, part of you is a waterfall that falls back to the earth, right? So the water's going skyward and your feet are on the earth and the waterfall is still coming back to the earth, right? So I'm going back and forth, right? And now I'm going to try to combine it. I'm actually going to try to do one arm at a time, right? So I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to suck the energy in and through. I'm going to go up. The consequence is if I take my arm up over my head, I lose this. So I'm just going to plan on losing that. I'm going to go up with one arm because I don't want to do both. Too much fear. And then I'm going to open and let myself, the water and the spray fall back to the earth, even though this is going skyward. Remember that. And then release, come forward, do it the other side. Remember, like fireworks work only because the night is dark, right? They're the more visual, right? So you've got to keep the earth as this part of you seeks the sunlight, right? So I'm going to try to find it and go up, over, like try to get this skyward, this back to the earth. Find the current, the river, up the legs. Good, and then release. Come forward, back. Now, if you can do it both arms and you feel safe, try it. I'm going to go back to this one because I like this one the best for what my practice is today. But I'm still going to try to fall back to the earth as if my arms were up. Good. And then come back. So when you're in that back bend, do you think, I'm going to say a rhetorical question, but do you think trying to take in the full back bend, do you think trying to take a really deep breath is a good idea? No. No. When you're that dynamic with your whole spine, the breath doesn't have to be very deep because the prana is rushing through the spine, right? So sit here for a second. We should probably do a little, let's come forward. Let's do forward and like make sure your back is like, kind of round your shoulders and push, round your spine like a C a little bit. And then gently kind of move it back, but don't do the other side much because you've already done that. Concave it, convex it again. Right. Bring it back to neutral. Ground your forearms into your legs. So when you convex, you're still grounding your legs. Right. Good. And then inhale and take your arm up. Exhale, go to the side. Real gentle now. Right? Like there's no win in here. You're just trying to make sure your spine doesn't like fester, that it knows that it can still twist and it doesn't have to be in the back bending pattern only, right? And then release and take the other hand up, over. And again, you're trying to show the spine that it's got more freedom than just getting locked in the back bends. It's got more space than that. Good, and then come on back to center. And then sit and like hum for a second. Hum for a spell. Don't forget your body is ultimately what takes you everywhere. So let it hum. Let it show you the prana that it has in it. Receive it. So for me to receive the hum, the floor of my brain has to open like vents. I have to let the hum seep upward. then all of a sudden I can't help but want to backbend just a little bit because we just did a whole bunch of that. I can feel it in my spine. So I visit it and I wave, a drive-by wave to the class, right? All right, and then start to feel some symmetry, feet, sitting bones, sides of the chest, sides of the head. Then change the flow of gravity. Lean back into your chair. Let it hold you up. Notice the difference. Pay attention to stuff like that so you can receive. By the way, it takes discipline to receive. Otherwise, you're just taken. Soften your jaw, your face. There's air, there's space between your cheeks and the skin on your face. Let there be air there. And then let them deflate. Because the deflation actually tends to fill back into the chest. Lips together, teeth slightly apart. Feel your breath. Don't change it. See if you can come back with a smile. Gradually start to increase your breath. I mean, a smile from inside out, not just a smile on your face. Right? Do you know the inside out smile? Doesn't have to be about anything in particular. It's a practice. Right? It's a practice. Maybe we should coin that word, spinal smiling. How do you smile with your whole spine? Kind of makes you happy. It almost makes me want to giggle. Like, what the hell? You mean my whole spine can smile? Yep. Yep. I wouldn't want to do it all day long, though. That would suck. Right? So I'm just doing it right now. I don't know about you. I'm just passing time, making sure my spine is making it all the way up to my mouth. Right? All right. So I wish for you that the sensation of support is something you allow yourself to study. Right? Not necessarily in people and all the people that are helping you and stuff. I mean, like, what does it feel like in your body? Study it, figure out ways to facilitate it. Don't you hate? Well, I do. This is not, this is me. I hate feeling like I'm supposed to laugh or supposed to be happy. Right? Right. Like, oh yeah, I should be grateful. Yeah, okay, for sure, right? But I do often want to practice going into the new year, like authentic, inside to out